This universe is not just a stage. Every moment, every encounter, every emotion follows a law. We live within that flow, and now we begin to uncover its truth together. Welcome to the law of the universe, where your consciousness begins to awaken. Escaping Modern-Day Slavery, The Cup Principle and the True Freedom of Work, Lecture 840. Master Gong once stated that modern employment can be likened to a form of contemporary slavery. However, this does not mean that everyone with a job is automatically a slave. The real distinction lies in one's intent and mindset toward work. To illustrate, Master shared a comparison using a cup factory as an example. Imagine two people working in the same factory at the same time, performing the same tasks. One person comes to the factory simply to earn money. Their primary motivation is survival, earning a salary to make ends meet. For them, work is merely a means to an end, and they submit themselves to circumstances for the sake of income. According to the master, this person lives as a slave, not by force but by mindset. The other person also works at the same factory but holds a completely different perspective. They see their role as creating something useful for others, something that will serve people's daily lives. They understand the deeper purpose of their labor and act with intention. Though they receive the same salary, they are not driven by the money. They work for people, not for profit. This is not slavery. This is the life of a person who is truly free, a person who is the master of their own life. The power of perspective, how thought shapes reality. Though the task is the same, the inner world of each person leads them to entirely different outcomes. When one works solely for money, the work becomes burdensome, monotonous, and unfulfilling. On the other hand, when one works with the desire to serve others, they find joy, inspiration, and creativity in their tasks. Such a person naturally gains the trust of others, not because they seek it, but because their sincerity becomes evident. Over time, they grow not only in ability, but in character. Even if the company were to face financial trouble, it is this kind of person that managers and colleagues would strive to retain. Their value goes beyond their job. They become irreplaceable. The path to freedom from money. True freedom comes when you are not enslaved by money, but when money comes to you naturally as a byproduct of living rightly. The master teaches that he never engages in any activity just to make money, yet his needs are always met. How? Because people are moved to give, not because he demands it, but because they recognize the worth and sincerity of his actions. Money does not flow from effort alone. It flows from alignment with what is right. When one acts sincerely and fulfills their role in the world, resources come, often from unexpected places. Even if you lend money and the borrower cannot repay it immediately, that value will return to you in another form, through opportunity, loyalty, or unexpected support. If you demand repayment with impatience or resentment, you risk severing the natural flow of abundance. Conclusion: two people may perform the same work, but the quality of their life diverges greatly depending on their thoughts. Those who work only for survival remain trapped in a mindset of lack and dependency. Those who work with purpose, for the benefit of others, live as free individuals. Whether we live as slaves or as free beings is not determined by our circumstances, but by our inner posture. The moment we shift our reason for working from "what can I get" to "what can I give," we transcend the invisible chains of modern-day slavery and step into a life of dignity, freedom, and true abundance. Full script summary. Did you go to work today? Have you ever thought, "I'm only doing this to make money"? Master Gong once said, even if two people work at the same job, whether they are free or enslaved depends on why they work. If you work just for money, you become a slave to money. But if you work to serve others, to make something useful for someone, then you are living as a free person, as the master of your own life. Strangely, people who work with that mindset gain trust, find joy in their labor, and money follows naturally. So ask yourself not, "How much can I earn?" but rather, "Who will benefit from what I do?" In that moment, your life begins to change, from survival to freedom. This is the story based on the above articles. He wasn't just making cups. In a small industrial town on the outskirts of Seoul, the morning always began with a dull haze and the rhythmic clatter of machines. There, in a dusty factory, a man named Lee Do-young, age 42, had been making ceramic cups for over 12 years. He clocked in at the same time each day, stood at the same spot, and repeated the same motions. He felt nothing, thought nothing. "I'm just here to make a living," he often muttered. That sentence summed up his entire life. He had 2 children, a wife, and a mortgage weighing on his back. His paycheck disappeared as soon as it arrived. No matter how much he worked, it always felt like he was drowning. Do Young wasn't living. He was merely surviving. Then one day, a new worker joined the factory. A 29-year-old with bright eyes and a warm smile, Kang Hyun-soo. From day one, Hyun-soo was different. "I want to make cups that bring comfort to the people who use them," he said with sincerity. Do Young scoffed. "Kid, nobody cares. Just press the button and move on. That's the job." But Hyun-soo didn't change. He cleaned each cup with care. When the machine jammed, he was the first to fix it. He remembered coworkers' birthdays and wrote them handwritten notes. Even during lunch, he would say things like, "I wonder whose hands will hold this cup. I hope it brings them a moment of peace." At first, Do Young ignored him, but something about Hyun-soo lingered in his mind. There was joy in the way he worked. Even the supervisor began to notice. "Hyun-soo's energy keeps this whole line running." Do Young felt a strange emotion rise within him. Was it envy? Admiration? Or something deeper? Something he had long forgotten? One day, Do Young accidentally saw Hyun-soo's notebook left open on a table. On one page, a simple line was written. "If one of my cups ends up on someone's desk and brings them comfort during their day, then I've served the world." Do Young stood there in silence, rereading it. He slowly picked up one of the cups he had just made. For the first time, he asked himself, "Who will use this?" Something shifted. He began to pay attention to the sound of the machines, to the way his coworkers moved. He cleaned his workspace, adjusted the machine settings with precision. He didn't work faster, but he worked with care. And oddly enough, work became lighter. He wasn't as exhausted. He even found joy. Months passed. The factory secured a new contract and needed a team to lead a special product line. In a meeting, the supervisor asked, "Who should manage it?" Multiple hands pointed toward the same person, Do Young. He's dependable. He's changed a lot. He cares. And at that moment, Do Young realized he was no longer the man who worked just to survive. Late one night, after his shift, he sat in the break room and scribbled a note on the back of a worn-out paper. "I don't just make cups anymore. I help shape someone's day." Author's note, we all work to live. But if survival becomes our only reason, we lose ourselves. When we work with purpose, when we work for people, not just for pay, that's when we stop being workers and start being creators of life. So take a moment to ask yourself, why do I work? What motivates you to work? Are you working just to survive or to serve others through your work? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about how we can find true freedom in what we do.